got a tall forehead. And what's going on with you? You look like you're Russian or something this morning.
I got my wig on today.
So good morning, and I don't even wait. There we go. Did I say good morning yet? Um, yeah, we're live. We went live just a couple minutes early, and we're gonna try to do this from now on, so we can make all of our little adjustments without everybody being here. What time is it? We still got 2 minutes. Good. So how are y'all this morning? We're just getting our first sip of coffee again. I don't know why that happens every Sunday. We're late coffee drinkers on Sunday for some reason. I think it's your fault. He likes to sleep in. If you're just joining us for the very first time,
I'm Tim.
And I'm Amber, and we're two of the five members of the Bradshaw family that moved here from the city in South Carolina by the beach, off grid to the mountains of East Tennessee, where we are joining you live for coffee. We started this coffee conversation about 4 years ago when we first moved here as a way to connect with our friends and family that we missed so much from back home. And we just continued it. We liked it. We're still alone here on the mountains.
Yeah, right.
And it's still our way to connect with friends and family. So welcome. Hush Puddin'. And good morning, Sherry. How are you, honey?
Good morning, Sherry.
Sherry, we're looking, our view right
Good
now
morning
is we have these two like 5.5 foot long rectangle windows that almost give us this 180 view of the Smoky Mountains. And it's phenomenal, and they're covered with snow, and it's gorgeous. I'm glad it's there and not here. Oh goodness, what a week, huh?
to you. Yeah.
Let's do a Timmy update. For those of you that don't know, Timmy was really smart the couple of weeks ago, wearing his little Croc safety shoes. Hey, Steve. Good morning, brother. Steve's gonna keep us in his pocket while he does his morning chores. Steve. By the way, while I've got you here, hopefully you're listening. Puddin', stop it. We're going to have to let her outside. She's going to drive us crazy. Steve, I want to do an article on your little pocket tin that you carry around for survival. So if you would work with me on that, I would greatly appreciate it. Steve's got this little round tin, kind of like where you have your bug dope in that I made for you. Right?
Yeah.
And everything in it is like things that he needs to survive. It has, fire starters, fishing hooks, fishing line, a pocket knife, things like that. And it's all in the little tin that he keeps in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that we kind of went off the beaten path right there, but I've been meaning to ask you ever since you shared that in the group. And I think that is great information. Matter of fact, I think it's great. I'm sure they sell something like that. We have these little pocket things. They look like credit cards that I bought everybody years ago. And there's like 20 tools in that little metal credit card. It's got a little saw. It's got a little fishing hook. It has a little wrench. What else does it have? What is up with you? Okay, I'm done. I'm done talking off the beaten path.
It all started with that little secrets box. Remember that?
Yeah, the Altoids box or secrets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things are great, and I have a bunch of them upstairs because we sell honey straws in them, so you can take your little honey straws in your pocketbook and take them everywhere. But okay, that's off the beaten path. Anyhow, Timmy was in his safety shoes, his Crocs, in the rain, and slipped and fell on his bum, and he ain't got no cushion back there, so it just like squished him like an accordion. You know when you're watching the Roadrunner and the Coyote, you know how the Roadrunner tips around the Coyote and he squishes down, then he's an accordion walking around. That was him.
Well, let me fix that story.
He is
The
a
Roadrunner doesn't do anything. The
Well, yeah,
Coyote does it all to himself.
No. He like kicks the stick out or whatever. And
Oh,
so that's
man.
what happened. And Timmy got a compression fracture in
Yeah.
his L5. And there's a pretty little back brace that he doesn't wear. And he was bedbound for over a week. He was on light duty, and he's still on light-ish duty. But I'm happy to say he's walking around, and he's back to working light duty, but working nonetheless.
Yeah, working like duty.
Y'all
Oh
have to
man,
excuse his childhood antics.
I'm back.
If you're just, I'm back. Get it? Yeah. So anyhow, is it 8 o'clock yet? Can we begin our topic?
Please begin.
We're going to talk about flat Earth and aliens and other things because there's a lot going on in the world right now. And people are like, well, how does that relate to homesteading? I'll get there. I promise you, I will get there. And I don't make promises. So I will get to tying all of this together in just a little bit.
Hmm.
But, I mean, flat earthers have been around their philosophy and everything for a long, I mean, Christopher Columbus sailed out to discover more, that the earth wasn't flat and things like that. So it's nothing new. It's not a new fad. It's been around for a very long time. I've gotten into some debated conversations with peers that I find to be very intelligent, and that's okay that we have different points of view. And it's so funny because we match, me and some of my friends, on so many levels. I'm like, oh man, they're right there with us. Yeah, I'm like, I found my people. And then they start talking about flat Earth, and I'm like, Timmy,
Yeah.
it's time to go.
Well,
It's time to go. And it's not. If you believe in flat Earth, okay, I'm not trying to offend you. And if you're offended, then you're on the wrong channel because I don't care if I easily offend people. And you shouldn't care if you offend me. You just speak your mind. That's the glorious thing about free speech. However, it's not one of those topics that I'm just going to sit and argue with people about over and over and over and why I think you're wrong and why I think I'm right. If you want to believe the earth is flat, so be it. And that was a friend of mine that I grew up with, a childhood friend. Matter of fact, I remember when they moved to our town back in fourth grade, and I was the first little person to show her around. And I'm like, this is their playground, and I highly respect her. She's very intelligent, and we got into it not too long ago. I said, listen, Karen, and that's her name. I'm not just calling her Karen. I said, here's where I stand in this whole subject. Are you focusing on the flat Earth aspect and just researching it and spending hours on it and trying to prove it? And she's like, well, I've done a lot of research. I said, is it taking your focus off of God? And she just kind of like, huh? And I said, anything that takes our focus off of Him is not good. And then I said, the Bible doesn't talk about if the earth round, flat, or square, all ends of the earth. If you want to take that to be corners, that's fine. I don't plan on traveling the earth. I like it here where I'm at. And in the end, does it matter? It doesn't to me. The only thing that matters to me right now about the earth is that we are given the responsibility to be caregivers of it. We are to be practice good husbandry when it comes to taking care of the earth. God entrusted this earth to us to take care of, but our focus is to be on Him. And all I know is that He's going to make this place better and reign with us after this is all said and done. So that's where I stand with that. So if y'all are one of those ones that get in those debates or research till you just can't find anything else and search and focus, y'all are focusing on the wrong thing. What does it matter? Just to say you're right, we're wrong, we're right, you're wrong? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have any effect on our ability to produce food, to love each other, to show hope. It doesn't matter. Where do you stand on it? Are you a flat earther or a round earther?
well,
No, he does care about offending people. Timmy will never say a word that he thinks that somebody's gonna like get upset about, except for me.
I don't know. It's interesting when you meet someone that actually believes the Earth is flat.
It brings up a lot of different
It
conversations.
does because we've all been taught that the world was round, and I mean,
Well, and all the pictures from
have I
space. and everything. And then, the eclipse where it goes in front of the moon. It's kind of like that, circular shape. The moon itself, So it is very interesting to say the least. And it's
Yeah.
not that I won't entertain those conversations. I certainly will. I'm not going to debate about them. But I will entertain those conversations. And if you want to believe that, that's great. I don't judge you for that. I don't like, oh my gosh, we're not going to talk to them anymore. I don't want it to be our only conversation. I'd like to get back to discussing other things.
Yeah, I think about things like this. When they go to the store, did they buy a globe or did they buy a map? I mean, it's like it's
So you think they don't
it's
have
a,
globes in their house, so they believe in
yeah.
flat
They
Earth?
just
Okay,
I know I don't believe the Earth is round. I'm gonna stick with the map. It's
that's
flat.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, there might be. I mean, my friend shared me when she was trying to prove her point. She sent me a picture of the horizon out of a window from an airplane. Like, how come there isn't a curve to this? And I'm just, that's okay. Again, I go back. Where's your focus, honey? That's what we need to talk about.
Well, if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but the
Are you going to talk about the geographical luminous range
well, there is geographical and luminous range.
when he was in a
If you've
tugboat
ever
captain?
seen the picture of somebody flying a jet miles above the earth
Yeah.
and looking out that front window of that jet with that pilot, the earth is round. You see that
The
horizon. Yeah, the
curvature.
curvature.
Well, that's fine, and we're not trying to
Yeah,
prove any different.
yeah.
But my point about that is where our focus is. It says God says, "Don't focus on the things of this earth, but above," and the meaning on Him, not to the stars and the alignment and all that, but on Him. Don't focus on the things of this earth. Focus on Him and what He says. And this kind of goes to my alien conversation too that we're going to have today, in light of all the balloons that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, again, is that your focus? There's a reason why it's not in the Bible. And I have to think that the Bible has so much in there right now. Tammy and I were talking, it's like, I am 58 years old and I have not been through the whole Bible. And there's so much in there that we already don't practice, that we already don't comprehend, that we already can't study. I mean, we can study it every single day, all day long, and still never know enough, still never get it all, still miss things all day long, every day until the end of our days. What would we do with more information? So to me, in my opinion, there's a reason why we're not told. The Bible talks about giants and everything, talks about other beings, demons, all sorts of stuff. So that's where we're going to talk about our aliens. Do you want to get a touch of a coffee?
No, I'm kind of into this now. I don't want to drink any coffee.
So let me state, what is that? My prelude? I'm going to talk about the other day. We were coming a couple weeks ago, I should say, before all this balloon stuff. We're coming home from church, and
Hmm.
I drive because I get car sick when other people drive. Timmy gets car sick if he looks down while I'm driving. That's all it takes. And we're on how far away is Jones Cove from our house? What, about 7 miles?
Down the street and around the corner.
We're about 7 miles from our house, and we have a big mountainous area behind our house. There's two actually, English Mountain and Rich Mountain, and so we're driving on Jones Cove Road, which is a busier road than ours. It's a country road, but it's still busier. It's paved. There's 2 lanes, and there's painted lines on all both sides. That's the type of road it is. We don't have those right here. And we're driving. I'm like, wow, did you see that? And it was nice outside. It was, I mean, we've had uncanny weather for this area. It was 80 degrees 2 days ago, and then we woke up and it was 26. Um, and it was like a lightning storm on top of English Mountain area, but there was no storm. The clouds were clear, and it wasn't a heat. You get those heat electrical storms and stuff, and it was more like if you've ever seen a bunch of firecrackers go off, how they're light all over the place, and it wasn't like lightning unless there was a bunch of lightning in one spot at one time, which is really, really weird. And I said, Tina, I said, there must be a storm. This is the first thing I thought of. There must be a storm on top of the mountain. And then we turned down our road, Well Height Road, and what? What did you see?
You can still see it.
He could
You're
finally
right.
see it
Yeah.
then. And it was a bunch of it. And we almost pulled over. And what did you think it was?
I don't know. Aliens. I don't know.
That is not your first thought. So we were,
They're coming to get us, man.
no, honey, they're looking for intelligent life. They're not coming to get us. So, and I kind of get to my point. So we get home, and a young gentleman who's in his mid-20s, he lives in another town on the other side. And it takes us like 30 minutes to get to church and takes him an hour. And he joined us for church. Well, he saw something completely different. He goes, did you guys see the lights? I'm like, yes, it was crazy. I said, what is that? It looks like a storm, but it doesn't make sense. It's not the same type of storm. And he goes, no, he goes, yeah, it was just circling 180 and then it stopped and go the other way. He took video of it. Now where he is, there's nothing. There's no buildings. There's no main city. He's on the outskirts. There's nothing. There's a highway with no lights. And I said, no, that's not what we saw. And he sent me the video, and it shocked him so much. He went on the side of the road, and it was a big black disc above the cloud line with two white lights going like the circle, and then they would go the other way, and you could see it. And he took several videos of it, and I shared what we saw. He goes, well, I didn't see that. And a week later, all these balloons start coming out. Now, we've been warned that they were going to pull this alien stuff on us. What we saw was unexplainable. People in the local chat group said, hey, did anybody see the lights? They're like, oh, yeah, that's Christmas lights. One Christmas light. Somebody else said, oh, yeah, it's the water park in Kodak, which is 2 cities away. And they're closed right now. And they're not on top of the mountain behind us. There's nothing on top of the mountain behind us. Nothing. So I was like, well, that's unexplainable.
And it wasn't Dollywood.
It wasn't Dollywood, no. And again, and then all the aliens, the balloon things come out. Well, let me tell you something about the balloon things in the news. If there's anything in the news, your regular ABC, NBC, CNN, all that stuff, it's because they want your attention there instead of where it should be. That's the truth. If you see something in the news that's being broadcast on all of those, and they're all saying the exact same thing, you need to start digging to find out what truth they're hiding.
There's something else going on.
There's something else going on. And there's a lot going on right now. I get banned almost daily from Facebook. I am shocked that they still even let me post. But I think part of that, in part, has to do with the whole thing going on with Elon Musk and Twitter and how he's calling out the censorship. And they're hopefully doing something about it now. And I honestly am very thankful for Elon being able to do that and bringing light and truth and showing everything that's going on with that. But so let's see, what are they hiding with this whole alien thing? Well, Timmy, you guys, if you've been around and watched my post, it's about all of the chemical and toxins that are being dumped in our water, on our soil, and in our air. And this is a big thing. It's not a little thing. It's a big thing because you're like, oh, well, that's in Ohio. Well, and it's in Ohio, and it's all over Pennsylvania, and it's all over the Northeast coast, and now it's going into Canada. That's just in the air. Let's talk about the waterways and everything that it's connected to. And it's not just Ohio. It's all over the United States, these chemical derailments that are going over our main waterways that all connect. They're like a vascular system, y'all. You know, you might have a lake in Montana and don't realize that it's connected to your lake in Tennessee. It's all connected, like I said, like a vascular system. All of the waterways and everything in the aquifer, it's all connected. And what do you think that's going to do to our food supply? And it's a lot. It is a lot, and that's what we're going to. This is where we're tying everything together. Again, whether you believe in aliens or not, that's okay. I have seen things that we can't explain in the natural sense. And that's okay too. God didn't feel that it was necessary that he share that information with me. So I don't think that it's prudent to focus on. Um, but I do know that the counterpart, Satan, comes to confuse and deceive, and he likes us to keep our focus off of God. So anytime that I find that I'm obsessing about something, I need to take a step back and go, is that where my focus should be? Um, but what I do know is that God does call us to be prepared. We talked about that last week. He puts things in our heart for a reason. And he also gives us that Holy Spirit in us gives us that move, that inclination to know when to do something, to know when not to do something. And I strongly feel that we need to focus on our personal food production. And we felt that for a long time. Good morning, Bradshaw. Good morning, Kathy. We were just getting into aliens and the chemical spills that are going on everywhere in the United States and our food production. It's quite a heated debate this morning.
How you doing, Kathy?
So
This isn't a wig, it's a hat, if you're wondering.
Talk about what you heard this morning, Timmy, about how that chemical spill affects our food.
Yeah, I'm a little leery about getting into all that stuff right now because it's kind of scary, and I shouldn't be scared because my faith uh, is strong, and
I think you're concerned.
yeah, I think I'm more concerned, and how this is going to go, and I mean I can't see the future with all this, but I know it's going to affect a lot of people, and it near and far. So
Control the food, control the people.
yeah, I don't like to be controlled. I'd rather be controlled by God than anything else in the world. So
Well, Kathy says terrible what's happening, and it is, Kathy. And there's so many people, one, that either don't want to know, they want to bury their head in the sand, they want to live in their little bubble, and those days are over. It's time for the people to wake up and get serious and need to know. I'm not saying live in fear, as Timmy just mentioned about when you hear this stuff. That's your first and you do get that fearful, that concern, that fear over you. There's one thing I do know. The Bible mentions 365 times, do not fear. 365 times. When God says something once, you're like, you should listen. When he says something 3 times, you're like, he really means it. When he says something 365 times, you should be applying that to your life morning, noon, and night, 365, 24/7. And that is not to live in fear. That doesn't mean that we live in ignorance. There's a difference. I think that we have that for a reason right now because it's of great concern. They're trying to poison our food supply and our water of our friends, our family, our neighbors, our fellow man. That's big. It's not even a right and left thing. It's humanity. These are all crimes against humanity. And this is the effects from this will be felt for hundreds of years if God doesn't come back first. They were talking about this morning on a podcast that we were actually able to listen to. This chemical, it binds. Well, the first they said that it binds with water, so that's why it's coming out of the sky when it rains. Now it says it binds with like your fat molecules and everything in your body, and it's in the soil. They said he was talking way above my pay grade, but he was talking about how it can be found in the soil. Its soil won't be considered safe for 500 to 1,000 years after it's there. So it was done. It's done. It's done. Like we can't undo any of what they just did at all. All we can do is try to counteract the effects. And that's where we go back to growing your own food. Can you grow your own food outside with a toxic rain going on it? Can you grow your own food if your animals are eating the grass that's been contaminated?
yeah, I mean that's I've seen oil spills and things like that, and I'm not trying to make light of an oil spill. This is something that you just don't go out and clean up. And I think the process that they use to
They did it on
thinking that they
purpose.
could get rid of something is
It was
You know,
intentional.
it had to be intentional, and there's too many incidences,
Accidents that are happening.
accidents.
Last year, it was a big part of our food chain and our food supply. If you don't remember, there was like over 200 granaries and poultry farms and everything that caught on fire. And the ones that didn't catch on fire, they all destroyed because of bird flu. Now, I'm not going to talk about that because I really like the video to stay up. However, it's like, really? You think, oh, this is just, just coincidence? There are no coincidences in life. There's none. I don't believe in coincidences. But I will say this is we were led to this lifestyle, I know, for a reason. And I also know it was to be more self sufficient. It was to be closer to God. It was to experience the things that we're going through. And talking to so many others, they're feeling it too. There's a reason for that. And it's time for us to take a step for that. Can we fix what's going wrong with the government? No. Are we going to get abducted by aliens anytime soon? I don't think so. Will we find the end of the earth if we start walking? Maybe. I don't know. But what I do know what we can do right now is to focus on our food supply and focus on, because instantly I started talking to a friend of mine who does work for the government. Her husband is very close to the government and his job with the military. And she's like, I'm just worried about our food now. And I said, I get it. I get it. And that's a lot of people are going to start. When all of this comes out, they're going to start living in fear. Here's where you and I come in. Fear not. And hopefully will have, this is what you need to do. Not telling people, but those that are living, fear not. This is what you need to do. This is how you can take care of the situation. There'll be those that don't want to listen to you, and that's okay. You don't need to talk to them. But those that do, even if it's just one that you can help, that's what you're here for. So the podcast that we were listening today, he owns a science lab. They produce a lot of nutritional supplements and stuff like that. And they were saying that there's a chemical compound in sprouts that help fight these toxins that we're going to be exposed to. And I have to do more digging before we quote that because I don't like to talk about something that I haven't researched at least a little bit to know the understanding. I will say this, though. A couple of years ago, we started doing microgreens and sprouts. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy, y'all. And I know for a fact that our food is meant to cure us. God's meant to cure us, of course, but He provided the food. Everything that we need for our bodies is inside those itty bitty seeds. And I'm not talking about in a prepackaged box or even at a drive-through, but it's in whole, real food. Do I practice what I preach? Nope. Do I want to? Absolutely. I try. We try. I have fallen off that path, but with the sprouts and the microgreens, it's something anybody can do, and you don't need soil, and you don't need a lot of you don't need sunshine. It doesn't need to be outside or it can get rained on. It's things that you can grow inside without a farm, so anybody can do it. It's not going to be a solution that's just for the few and the fortunate to have farmland. It's going to be for anybody to do.
Well,
Oh, sorry. I'm sitting here reading what my friend's saying. I ain't talking. Brian has been making sprouts like good snacks in addition to salad or smoothie. Absolutely. And it's easy. So we teach microgreen classes all the time. Well, I say all the time. At least once every quarter. And I just got a request the other day to teach some. You can go from seed to your plate in less than days. So that's something that you can do easily and don't need any space. I'm going to research more about it, and we'll talk more about it next week. So I'll have more information. I before we lost connection, it started talking about the chemical compounds in broccoli sprouts and how those will combat the toxic chemicals that will be absorbed into our food and bodies from this. Because we're going to get exposed. I don't care where y'all are. We're going to get exposed one way or another because it's going to come in the form of dairy. It's going to come in the form of meat. It's going to come in the form of produce. We're going to get exposed, or livestock feed's going to be exposed. So the best thing that we can do is to educate ourselves on it and try to combat that exposure any way that we can with what God's given us. You gotta chime in here every now and then. You ain't just eye candy.
Amen. Well, the first time I ever experienced the dioxin chemical,
Oh yeah, the dioxins. That's what
uh,
we were talking about. That
when we lived in South Carolina, there was a river there that
Kathy knows.
it dioxin got dumped into the river, and then they
Black River.
went
Black
out.
River, right?
Well, yeah, the Sandpit River and all the um, rivers that connect. So they went out and they started putting up signs, and they said that you couldn't eat fish out of there or anything
Yeah, you can't eat
because
fish out
it
of
was
there.
toxic. And here we are, you know, years later, and it's not in the water here. It's basically everywhere, I guess. Even though it's you know
We
hundreds of
can't.
miles
Yeah, you
away.
can't escape it because of the watershed. Like I said, they're
Yeah,
all the waterways are connected.
yeah,
And what we're now is it isn't Black River connected to the Intercoastal Waterway?
yeah. All the rivers are connected.
So, and that's when Timmy, being a tugboat captain, he would get on a tug up in Connecticut and they'd ride it all the way down to Florida, and through the waterways because they're all connected. So that is the concern. I'm seeing reports everywhere of people's animals dying inside of their house. They their chickens are dying inside of it because they're all dead. Sea life is washing up on the shores and they're not covering it. They're making light of it. And they, our own administration refused funding for it. And yet we're sending all this money overseas. So really, people, the only ones looking out for us are our fellow brothers and sisters. It's not the big brother. It's not the government. It's not anybody. It's time that we stop relying and codepending on our elected officials and start leaning on our community. That's what we're here for. That's why we have coffee with each other and with y'all is to connect our community. And it's okay if we're not like-minded on everything, but we should be like-minded on the bigger picture. you know?
Everybody loves to eat, and everybody needs water.
We need to eat. We need to be fed first spiritually, but we also need to be fed physically. And I think that's important during all this, especially if you're a believer. Don't spread fear. You won't believe how many Christians that I say, I'm scared of getting sick, getting the flu. I'm scared. I'm like, whoa, I'm sorry. First, let me give you a hug. If you want, let me hug you. Let me give you a hug. Don't live in fear. There's nothing to fear. God conquered everything that there is to conquer. There is nothing to fear. You can be concerned, you can be sad, but don't live in fear. Because fear, too, also is the lack of knowledge. If you aren't equipped with the knowledge that you need to overcome that fear, I get it. So if you're living in something's bothering you and you're fearful of something, you need to research that and gain knowledge first in the Bible. But second, gain that knowledge to help remove that fear from you. And that's when we're talking about the dioxins and how they're going to poison everything of our food supply. Where, like in Ohio and all those areas, that is like the food production mecca, or all the Amish and the Pennsylvania and everything, that supplies a lot of our food. And then it's not just Ohio and Pennsylvania; it's all over the United States right now. Just in case you don't know, and it's in our water supplies. So now we need to educate ourselves on how to combat this. That way we don't live in fear, and we can share that knowledge with others. And you don't need a medical degree to do your research, y'all. There are people out there that do have a medical degree, that are scientists, that are trying to help. We just need to find them and then spread that information.
Yeah.
Anything else? No?
That's,
What?
that's rough stuff, man.
So if I were to give you a piece of advice today moving forward, is go with that little bit, that tiny little morsel, a nugget of information I gave you about sprouts and greens helping to counteract the effects of dioxin. Start there. And then also research, educate yourself on things that you can grow inside your home that won't get rained on, that don't require a ton of sun. Things like mushrooms, um, your microgreens, your garlic, your turmeric, all those types of things. And every single one of them are antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral. Mushrooms are a great healer and don't need a lot of sun. So do those even on small doses. And every bit helps. Even if it's just one tray of greens, start there. And that's pretty much how I just tied in the flat Earth aliens and chemical spill all together with homesteading. I told you I tied it
Yeah,
together.
you tied it together.
Did I?
But yeah,
With a pretty bow.
yeah, nice stuff.
So y'all, we got to get going. We got pictures today at church, and I got to figure out what to do with this one.
Yeah,
And oh well, shoot, we have we have a lot going on here. Again, slow and steady is wins the race, but we have a lot going on here at Homestead, and I think that's what we'll talk about next week, unless something else happens this week. But I will between now and then, and y'all do it too, please. Research, things that we can do to counteract the effects of these chemicals that are going to be we're going to be exposed to very shortly, if we're not already. And let's share it with each other. I'll go on the sprout, y'all pick sprout, pick something else, and let's share it with each other because that's how we're going to get ahead of this thing. So y'all have a good day.
thanks for joining.
We're gonna go now. Thanks for joining us. It's not your call sign.
Thanks for putting up with us.
There we go. Bye now.